Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you will enjoy the speed build of this luxurious cruise ship. I built this ship because it was a challenge, first of all, but second of all, I got really inspired by the recent trip that we took with my husband. It was a big holiday for us. We flew from Berlin down to Cape Town, South Africa, where the cruise ship was docking, and that's where we got on board. And we spent 19 days on the ship, and we had a number of stops, a lot of things to see and experience, and we spent quite a number of days on the sea, or to put it better, on the ocean. So I thought I would share or do a bit of a story time while we are looking at the building of the ship. So yeah, I was just really thinking that this would be a good idea to share with you guys how such a cruise experience works and what our takeaways or my takeaways were. And I'm really curious to hear from you if you have experience with cruises, if you have experience with other cruise companies. So far we only traveled with AIDA, but we are at the point where we are considering maybe trying a British cruise company or American. Not sure yet. This was our fourth trip with AIDA, and the biggest one, in all fairness. So as I said, we went down to Cape Town and we spent there 1.5 days. Altogether the trip was 19 days, and after 1.5 days we got on the ship and we spent 1 day on the sea, then 2 stops in Namibia. One was in Witherow and the other one was in Walvis Bay. Then we spent 7 whole days on the ocean, where we were sailing up on the western shore of Africa, which was just incredible. Well, we did not see the continent all the way. We just knew because there was a tracking system in place where you could see where the ship is momentarily. And after the week on the ocean, we stopped in Santiago, in Cape Verde. Then another day on the sea. Then we stopped on Gran Canaria. It was wonderfully beautiful. This was our second time on Gran Canaria, but now we managed to look at it from a different perspective and do different things. Then we went to Gibraltar. I've never been there. It was really interesting to see the Spanish and the British influences on the city, and naturally the monkeys. And then our final stop was in Mallorca. You would think that one would stop in Mallorca for a bit of an extended holiday, but when we booked the trip, we decided let's not. It's been 19 days anyway, so it would be better to just go home and spend a couple more days at home before going back to work. So this was, in a nutshell, the trip. And I thought I would share some insights with you about the cruise itself, the cruise ship, and how we perceived the different locations that we visited. So we were on Aida Stella. This is, I would say, a mid-size ship, which can, I think, altogether carry 2,000 something people. But this time around, the ship was approximately half full, so we had around 1,000 guests and another 600 crew members. You can say that with this occupation of the ship, this is very comfortable to be any place on the ship. We also saw a bigger and newer ship, Nova, it was very crowded. The guest count was also much higher, or the utilization of the ship was much higher. You always had to struggle to find a seat for dinner or for lunch, so it was more convenient on Stella, let's just say it like that. And we had a balcony cabin, and so that is also something that inspired this luxury cruise build in The Sims 4, where I wanted to create a balcony cabin for everybody, because I think that's the best thing ever. There are also cabins on Stella which have only windows, or which have only, well, they have nothing. They don't have the window nor the balcony, just the room itself. It's dark, it's closed in. Naturally, for those guests, the majority of the day has to be spent in the common areas, because you don't want to sit in a dark room with the lights on and you see nothing from the outside world. For us with the balcony cabin, this was different. We spent quite a lot of time in our cabin because we could just open the sliding door and then listen to the ocean. We played a lot of board games, just chill in the room and enjoy the unbelievably beautiful view. What I try to capture on the build is also, of course, based on the experiences on board of Stella, but there are a couple of things which I could not squeeze in naturally, because the ship is honestly just so big. It's very difficult to even comprehend it, and to build it in The Sims is just too much, honestly. So there are a couple of things that I missed. In this build, for example, a laundry room would have been really nice. Maybe I could have squeezed it in somewhere, but I don't know. I felt like the gym, the spa areas, the pool deck on the top deck were must-haves. Also, the disco area I felt like is a must-have, especially considering I have altogether 5 suites, all of them with balcony. And so in one suite you can have altogether 4 Sims, and so I tried to make it more like adult-ish friendly, although on the pool deck I placed 2 kids pool, but that's all related to kids, honestly. The rest is more like as if they were rich celebrity adult people. That's what I had in mind when I built it. Talking about adults, this is always something that comes up when we tell people, oh hey, we went on a cruise, and people always go, oh, so you went with the retired people. Well, partially yes, but this is a misconception. It's not only retired people, and anyway, so what? Thank you very much. I love it a lot if retired people go on a cruise for 19 days, or some of them even more, and you know, you can hang out by the pool, you can have your cocktail in the daytime, evening, night, whenever you please. You can have your coffee with cake in the afternoon. You can just do anything you like on the ship, because practically there's literally everything. It's like a little town. So yeah, the restaurant I also tried to capture in this buffet-like feel, and there were 3 restaurants which were these buffet restaurants on Stella, I think. All of them had different theme. One was a marketplace, the other one was Italian styled, and the third one was Asia styled. There were 3 more a la carte restaurants. One Buffalo Steakhouse, another one was a fine dining restaurant, and the third one was a sushi place. So that came on top of to your bill. That was not covered in your basic fee, so to say. I also built the bridge which I've never been to, but we saw pictures and videos presented by the crew, so that is what served as my inspiration for building the bridge. Another thing that I could not really capture in the build was the theater area of the ship, which is actually 3 floors high, so to say. The audience sits throughout 3 levels of the ship, and it's major, it's really big. That's where every night some sort of entertainment is happening. Some of them were really, really good. Sometimes they even have the voice of the ocean, like The Voice talent show. They also play Who Wants to Be a Billionaire or Millionaire, and those are really good. I really liked those shows, but there were some of these musicals, and that's just not our kind of cup of tea, honestly. But that's fine. The thing is, there were so many different programs and things to do that you could pick whatever you liked the most. So what we did like were dance classes, so we could try the basics of rumba and the basics of salsa. There was also a line dance. I never went to the class, but throughout the whole cruise there was this one particular song coming up all over again, and people just gathered up real quick and they started dancing this one very short choreo, so I managed to learn real quick, and then I could just dance with the people together. That was really, really awesome. They also had oftentimes some food programs on the pool deck, like hot dog day, hamburger day, things like that. There was always a cocktail for the day. It was very nice. We really enjoyed the time. As I said, we played a lot of board games, so I just quickly wanted to mention that. I'm not sure if you guys know it. It's called Ark Nova. So let me just tell you, we with my husband are hooked. We love this game. It's a strategy game where you need to build your own zoo. You compete with the other player on whose zoo is cooler, whose zoo participates in more conservation projects, whose appeal is better, who has more animals, this and that adds up, and then essentially you end up with your final score. But let me tell you, the cards are so beautiful, the animals are so diverse. I love everything about this game. It does seem very complex in the beginning, but as soon as you get the gist of it, it is so clean and simple and easy to understand. So I just wanted to check if you guys also know this game, and if I can give you a recommendation, go and get the Ark Nova. This is not an ad, it's just me saying this is a really, really good game, so I very warmly recommend playing with this one. And plus, it has some expansion packs like the aquarium. We also got the aquarium after we came back from the holiday, because we tried this board game on the holiday. So we bought the board game, we took it on the ship, we tried it there, learned the rules, played the game. We had 7 days on the open sea, so we had the time. And we really enjoyed it. And then as soon as we got home, we also ordered the expansion pack for the aquarium, and it's just fabulous, so good. So again, warmly recommended. I wanted to share some highlights with you. There were, I would say, places that we visited, 3 main highlights, and then there were 3 experience highlights. So let's begin with the first 3, the places we went. So the first one was that we went to the hypothetically, but not actually, the southernmost point of the African continent, to the Cape of Good Hope. And it was just, a major experience. You know how the sailors used to look at that point and be like, oh God, we don't have to go any further to the south. So it's just very historic, very major, and it was a very nice experience. We also had a wonderfully nice tour guide. He took us throughout the whole Cape Town, and he took us to all of these wonderful places. And the second highlight for me was the Namibian desert in Walvis Bay. We went on a tour with, again, a very, very nice tour guide, and they took us with jeeps to the desert, and we went to the so-called Sandwich Harbor, where we could see the desert meet the ocean, and it was just absolutely breathtaking. Seriously, the nicest thing I've ever seen, one of the nicest ones. And let's not even talk about how it feels to ride around on the desert hills or the dunes. You go up and down, up and down. It's kind of like a roller coaster, and the cars are drifting on the sand. It's really interesting. So that was another major highlight of the trip. And the third highlight for me was the crossing of the equator. We had a whole day dedicated to celebrate this on the ship. The crew organized some programs for us, some exercises or challenges that we had to complete, and then Neptune would give us a sailor name. I got some name which I can't remember. It's a really weird German word for some sort of fish. I forgot to look it up ever since, but anyway. And that was a really, really nice day. The three other experiences which I mentioned were not highlights, they were just really interesting, so to say, or something you don't see every single day. I'll begin with the two more negative, so to say. So the first one was, it's kind of reassuring to know that this is a possibility, but I've never seen this happen, and I felt really bad for the person. So apparently there was an older guest who had some health emergency issue on the ship as soon as we left Cape Town, and there we were supposed to spend an entire day on the sea. So on that day, the ship had to turn around and go back closer to South Africa again, because we were leaving toward Namibia, and there was a helicopter that came to pick up the guest, and they took her to Cape Town. And we saw the helicopter in operation. We could see it from our balcony, how they do this whole thing. The captain was also very transparent about everything, and he told us there was an emergency, we need to turn back, we are a bit lagging behind schedule, but that's okay. The safety is the first, naturally, so he kept us informed. And when the helicopter arrived, we could see how they performed the whole picking up the sick or injured person. Basically, we don't know what happened to the person, we don't know how. Well, naturally it had to be something big, not like a sprayed ankle or something. So they never landed on the ship. The helicopter was circulating around the ship, and then there was this rope on which they let down the medical stuff, and then they pulled them up. So that's how they did it. It was really interesting to see, and as said, really reassuring that even if the worst happens to you and you need immediate surgery or whatsoever, you are in good hands, and they will take even the most drastic measures to save your life. So that's why it's good to have insurance, right? So anyway, that was one thing that was really interesting. I've never seen such thing in my life, and I was just always praying that the person that was taken away by the helicopter is doing fine and is all good with them. The second thing happening was two natural events. One was seeing a thunder on the ocean. It was really strange because you could see the lightning, but then when you heard the thunderclap, you didn't know where it really came from. I guess the ocean just carries the sound in a much more different way than when you're on land. Maybe you'll say, oh yeah, well, this is basic. Not for me, it was really interesting and a bit spooky, honestly. The other spooky thing and natural event that happened was seeing fog, very, very heavy fog on the open sea. So it was on one of the sea days, and it was like 2:30 a.m. We're asleep, and we had the balcony door also open for the night so that we can listen to the waves whatsoever. And we woke up in the very middle of the night to the sound of the ship honking, and every 1 or 2 minutes it honked one long one. So we realized it was because when there is super heavy fog like the one we had there, you couldn't see like 3 meters away from the ship. It was super heavy. When there are, I guess, ships out on the sea which don't have maybe this super fancy radar, GPS, whatever technology on board, then they need to still, in 2025, they still need to use one of the most basic things, sound, hearing, listening to stuff. And so we gathered, that's why the ship was honking, to signal to other ships out on the open, I'm here, I'm around, I'm nearby, let's not bump into each other. I don't understand this part, how they manage not to. Like, what if someone has a ship that doesn't have all these radar equipments, and then it's so foggy, you're just like, okay, I hear something, but where is it coming from? Because as I said, you don't know where it's coming from. The sound is carried in such a strange way. Anyway, good that I'm not a sailor, right? And the last and honestly the merriest part was the amount of sea animals we saw. So we saw one time a whale jumping out from the ocean. It was spectacular. I've never seen a whale real life. I mean, especially out in the open in their natural habitat. Then we saw a lot of dolphins swimming by the ship. And the third was seals. We saw a lot of seals. They were incredibly cute. We also saw them once sunbathing close to one of the harbors. That was really sweet. And flying fish, medusa, things like that. I guess that was it. Yeah, whales, dolphins, seals. And I guess that's that about the trip. I hope that you like the building of the cruise ship so far too. And as I said, let me know. I'm really curious to hear whether you guys have any experiences with cruise ships. Are you interested in going on cruise ships at all? I wholeheartedly can recommend it to everybody who is up for a bit of a relaxation, but at the same time also stopping at different locations and checking out the local sites. If you are afraid of getting seasick, don't be, because I tend to get seasick, especially on catamarans or smaller boats, but on the cruise ship, not once. You can feel the waves a little bit, especially the higher you go on the decks, the more you can feel it. But otherwise, when you're sleeping, it's even nice. It's really comforting. It's as if someone was rocking you in your cradle or something. It's really sweet. So there's nothing to be worried about in that sense. And if I can ever recommend, go and get the balcony room if you can, because that's just multiplying the level of experience that you can get on a cruise ship. So that's it. I hope you liked the story time. Let me know if I should do more of this voiceover in my next videos. I'm really curious to see and hear about your opinion. So yeah, enjoy the rest of the video, take care, and see you later. Bye.